Humility is a strong word. I'm willing to submit myself under the trustworthy authority of another. So when the wife humbles herself to be willingly submit herself to the trustworthy authority of her husband, he has to be conscious enough to know that he is taking on a great responsibility with God's daughter and not to make the wrong decision concerning their marriage. Welcome
Uh,
to another episode of His Wife, Her Husband.
I am Shamika, his wife,
And I am Patrick, her husband. And our purpose is to help you build
and sustain your marriage.
from a biblical perspective. We are in another video of the series we're doing, Unequally Yoked. And today we're going to deal with being, is it, I guess it can be unequally yoked, when a husband and wife are at two different churches. Is that doable? Is it still considered unequally yoked? Um, is it equally yoked because they may be in different churches, but it's the same, I can say, same denomination, same religion, is that? So that's what we're going to discuss today on today's episode.
Dun, 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 dun,
It would be a nice
dun,
place for some
dun,
music.
dun, 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 dun. Now, what you gonna start?
I was going to let you start.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, first I would like to say that guess what? Marriage is messy. It's messy trying to figure it out. Like the unequally yoked stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my goodness. But it's worth it. It's worth the
There's
assignment.
a country song called "Beautiful Mess."
It's
So
a
I don't want to
beautiful
say
mess.
it's
Yes.
messy by itself, but it's a beautiful mess. What a
Mhm.
beautiful mess,
Yeah.
honey.
And so one of the thoughts that I had is that marriage is messy, but by the power of God, we can bring order and we can sustain and build beautiful marriages.
Mm-hmm.
As you just said, beautiful messes.
Right.
But we don't want to keep them in a mess. But again, it can be
Keep
complicated. When I
them.
say
Keep them
mess,
what? Keep them in a. Oh, okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
when I say messy, it's not like it should stay in a mess or that it's found a mess. Like marriage itself is not a
Yeah, but I
mess,
said with that.
but
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it can get very messy trying to be, trying to for two to become in one, sharing life, sharing space, bringing backgrounds and different experiences. Um, to a marriage, it can be a lot to contend with. You got traumas, you got, again, different experiences, you got triumphs, you got different things that you bring in, and sometimes it can just be kind of disorganized. It's like moving or relocating from one place to another place, even though everything is packed and you're excited about this new move. That does not mean that you building and sustaining or establishing your new space and place is not sometimes messy, and it can be just discouraging, or like it can just, I don't know, just you can just find yourself in a weird space. But I wanted to share that before we got into
I don't
the
know if I would agree
conversation.
with you on that adjective that marriage is messy. I think it can be messy moments. I don't know if I want to say marriage is messy more than marriage is challenging.
Okay, there you go. I was just sticking with M's. You can fix it up how that I'll go with that. It's not a
You don't
problem.
have to go with that. I'm just saying. I was saying something different than what I don't know. Messy sounds. I don't know.
Messy
But
sounds messy,
okay.
right? Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
but say marriage is messy. I don't know if that's like a definite statement I would make. I mean, to
okay.
each his own, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, great. So marriage is challenging. Yeah, there you have it.
Okay.
All right. And so, with that being said, I wanted to also emphasize and bring up that preference does not mean unequally yoked. So actually, what Patrick and I just did would be a prime example or a actual working example because he prefers challenge. I thought messy because I thought M went with went with it. I'm not saying that marriages stay messy. That wasn't what I was saying. But I am saying that it has a tendency to have to continue to be built and sustained, and it can be challenging, and as Patrick say, or it can be messy. It can get, it can get that way. So anyway, that does not mean that what we're saying is two different things. Actually, the idea, the concept, we do agree on, but the word to use would be a matter of preference. And so I wanted to,
I thought I was disagreeing. That's what I was trying to do.
okay, if you want to disagree, you can do that too. Right. Okay, there you go.
So this is how my wife tried to win debates. She tried to make what we're saying is the same thing. We're just saying it different. I'm trying to say it's different. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, great. There you have it. And so, so I did want to give an example as far as the fact that different preferences does not predicate unequally yoked.
Hmm.
And one of the examples I gave is that I enjoy eggs. I enjoy eggs with cheese. I enjoy boiled eggs, stuffed eggs. I enjoy eggs on my salad. I
Hmm.
guess you can hear that I enjoy eggs. Patrick, on the other hand, he is completely like, ugh, when you say something about eggs.
Hmm.
The texture, whether it's scrambled with cheese or stuffed like an omelet or whatever, he is like, ugh.
Hmm.
The thought makes his stomach turn.
Hmm.
That does not mean that we are unequally yoked. That means that it's interesting. We're talking about unequally yoked and the egg has yolk.
That's funny.
But anyway, anyway, but that is a prime example of us not being unequally yoked, but that is a matter of preference. So I do not want a husband or a wife that is listening to his wife, her husband, unequally yoked additions, assuming that your spouse has to think and do things the way you do. Like, no, that's not the idea. Like, if your wife or your spouse don't like eggs, don't force them to eat eggs or think that is a reason to separate or divorce because they don't want to eat eggs.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. And by the same token, if, especially in the beginning of marriage, if you forget or, you end up adding eggs to the tuna fish, not realizing that your spouse don't want the tuna fish the eggs in the tuna, apologize, adjust, and make another batch without eggs. It's that simple. My point is that we have to make adjustments when it comes to a matter of preference.
Hmm.
But when it comes to being equally yoked, you have to realize that marriage is about harmony. It is about, what did I write down? It's about being unified, and it's also about the two becoming one, learning to work together, walk together, live together, to journey through life together, because this is the idea. We know that we both need to eat.
Hmm.
That we agree on. Now, if one say, I don't need to eat, I can starve myself and still live. It's like, no, that is the wrong idea and a concept. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But then again, when it comes to the agreement of we know we both need to eat, now do we have to both eat eggs in order to live and exist? No. So,
So I think the word I want to use along with that is dealing with the example you gave. It's like compromise. So we both have to learn to grow. We're becoming one, and in that becoming one, it's the art of learning to compromise. And so my philosophy, and I think I've said it before. My philosophy of compromise is we both win and we both lose. It's not this time I win, next time you lose. I mean, this time I win, this time you lose. Next time you win, and next time I lose. I think in any situation, we both are compromising. If I want to come with A and B, you want to come with C and D, then we say, okay, let's do A and C, and then therefore we both we both sacrifice something and we both gain something at the same time, and then that becoming one, um, that great compromise happens as you begin to learn each other's bents and preferences and things of that nature. So, it could be, so for you with the tuna, it's not, well, I got, some people may say, well, it may not be, I got eggs in it now. So the next time we go picnic, I make one for you. It should
Go what?
make one for you.
No, what you say?
Next time we go picnicking.
Oh, okay. Like, whoa. What did we say?
Picnicking is a verb.
Oh,
So next time we go,
I'm like, wait a minute.
so the next time we go picnicking, we switch. So the thing would be is like, no, let's both make two batches. Somebody might say, I don't want to do all that. Then that shows, I think that shows the
Selfishness.
or the lack of effort to make the marriage work. This is because I don't feel like doing all of that. I don't care where we are in marriage. You should always find yourself in marriage. You should always find yourself in a place of going the extra mile.
Amen.
I think so.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to make it work, I do. I believe so.
And there lies, there it is, there lies the wisdom of marriage. Again, compromise. It requires wisdom. It requires insight. And I love how you said it. It's a service. Well, I don't think you said it, but in my mind I was thinking it's serving one another. It is being considerate of one another. And so again, we are trying our best to help let each other know that we matter in this matter of marriage, and that again, we're not trying to change, even though we will change through different things.
Correct.
But it's like we make space for that grace for change and adjusting. And so another thing that I did write down is that it is us living, learning, and becoming one, becoming holy in God, in the presence of God, with each other and before others. This gives others hope that, wait, we can work together, that there is a such thing as being civilized and working through real life, everyday conflict. And it does not require going to battle or to war every time. That's not what that's not what marriage is about. Though there may be times when battles and wars crop up.
Correct.
And so then, now this episode is not about that, but I want you to be aware that we are aware that is a matter of that. I mean, that's true. It happens in marriage, but for the most part, you shouldn't be so prideful that you won't take down to say, guess what? I love Patrick enough that I don't have to eat egg. I don't have to force him to eat the eggs and say, well, I cook breakfast and it's a plate full of eggs with cheese. When I know he don't like that, we're not going to be petty. And nor will he only feed me a plate full of eggs as if, since you like eggs and you won't stop liking eggs, you ain't going to get no toast, no nothing. No. That's not, truly becoming one or adjusting. That's so funny. Look, say, since you don't like eggs, I cooked eggs for breakfast. I guess you ain't gonna eat. You got a plate full of nothing.
Right.
Mercy. Okay. You got anything you want to say after that?
Uh-uh.
All right. So the table is set. We're ready to talk about should spouses. Well, let me say. I wrote down going to the same church or different churches. Should you go to the same church? Should you go to the same church first?
Or can you go to different churches?
Can you go to different? Sound like we said the same thing again.
Yeah,
Okay.
different churches. Same. So I'm trying to deal with different church, same religion.
That's
or
good. Same denomination.
Same denomination.
Or same
Right.
religion. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So Christianity, being a Christian
but
is
you're a Baptist. He's a Baptist.
yeah. And but he
But
want to
y'all
go.
go to
He go to first. You go to second. I mean,
Baptist.
she go to first. He go to second.
Right.
Whatever. That's good.
Same doctrine.
But
Is
yours
it-
wasn't first.
It was not first, but it's the same doctrine.
And what's wrong with Third Baptist?
I don't know. They never make it.
They never. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so should my, now?
I guess the question is, can it? Can you do it? If I'm a husband and if I'm a husband and a wife, if there's a husband and a wife, are they considered unequally yoked if they go to two different churches? K- Are they considered that? If they do, can it work?
All right. So Patrick is teaching me how to answer the question. The answer to the question is yes, you can, and yes, it can work.
Okay.
Now, that's the answer to the question. Now, I believe that it works if you choose to go to First Second Baptist because, um, especially if you all are communicating
Mhm.
and you see where your spouse has grown to become the person that they are as a result of being in the church where they are, and so you may not want to take them away from that. And
Because
if you decide
that's where they grew up, like you're
that's what
saying. Okay.
that's where they grew up, and the person that you have fallen that you are now sharing life and that you love and that you are so fond of, it's like the church didn't do me any bad by helping you to develop spiritually.
Mhm.
So hey, you can stay there, and then by the same token, the spouse can look and say you became beautiful, and you became mature where you are now. Okay.
So let me.
No,
Okay, go ahead.
this is my episode.
It seemed like it. It seemed like it.
You can go.
So I agree. So in context, I can't find anything. I can't. And maybe if there is something contextually, in context of whatever text, not something, not revelation, but in context, it says something like that. Uh, put it down in the chat. I can't find anything that
And-
disagrees with that being unequally yoked. That
Correct.
if you go to two different churches, same denomination, same religion, that you're unequally yoked at that point. I don't think so. I don't think it's unequally yoked.
Correct.
It's it's the first part. Then go ahead, because I know you're gonna go to the second part.
Now the next thing is there may crop up issues that may come up as a result of you going to do to two different churches.
Hmm.
What do I mean by that? Not a bad thing. It's just that a conflict. Like it's a conflict of timing. It may be teaching that the timing of teaching or preaching on a particular subject. Like
What do you
one,
mean by timing? Hear me out.
uh, so timing may be like. Um, uh, depending on an event that may be happening at church. Let's say a First Baptist may be having pastor appreciation,
Hmm.
church anniversary, and then Second Baptist may be having an outreach, evangelism outreach
Hmm.
that will require both of the spouses to be invested in two different activities for the church. The time they may be pulled they may be pulled in different directions due to the timing of something that is happening in the church.
But wouldn't they be already pulled in two different times if they attend two different churches anyway? I
That's
guess.
why I said that could pose a conflict. Initially, when they were single or by themselves, it probably wasn't a big thing. But when they start sharing the same space, it may be a conflict of interest. The timing may be bad.
Hmm.
It may be. I'm just saying these are things that may come up. um, if one pastor is calling for fasting and another one is calling for a time of feasting, it could pose, again, conflict of interest, conflict of timing.
Hmm.
And so that's where the headache could come in. And so these are things that you may not foresee initially, but it may end up coming up. And these are things that you have to factor in, that you made a decision, that you said that you would do that, or you have to conflict proof your marriage during this time, that if If we see that it's becoming a difficult time or hardship, then this is when we know we need to start looking for a place to worship and learn about the Lord together.
Hmm.
Or you can let the pastors know of each church that what your decision is, seek their wisdom and advice on it, and take heed to it.
They're both
And
gonna
then,
say the same thing.
I know. And then you say, well, for the first half of the year, we're gonna be at First Baptist. The second half, we're gonna be at Second Baptist. It's like you can figure it out, but you see all of the conflict that come with it, like the timing and trying to do your schedule and trying
I
to
don't agree with the time.
share.
I hear in timing, but in my mind, the way I'm looking at it, if I'm going to two different churches and they're calling for a second service, well, I don't go there anyway. So you having a different service time not really gonna affect me because I'm over here at Second Baptist anyway. I don't know if the timing would be an issue. I
Well,
think.
the timing. Well, listen. So, this one has a second service,
Okay.
and you used to having dinner
Okay.
after service. The
Gotcha.
timing, like we bumping heads now.
Okay, but in your example, you was like they got two different services going on, and
Okay.
it would be like it really doesn't matter. But in that case, yeah, that would be a an issue that could possibly arise
Mhm.
between the two spouses. That's good. And then again, I guess the other thing is, so it's kind of like in the way it's being answered now, it's no, it's not an equally yoked. However, it will present some unnecessary tension. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
All right. So it
That's
may present
good.
some unnecessary tension in the marriage because you are at two different churches, even though it's the same denomination, they're teaching the same thing. I guess for me, I guess I'm being a little bit radical or rebellious. It's because there's no there's no denomination, nothing. When we look at the first century Christians, like they didn't have like there was a church of Ephesus and church of Corinth, but that was because
That was the
that's where they
location.
were. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That wasn't the name of the church. That was where they were. But then they have people at certain houses, and they would go from house to house and synagogues. It's like it
It
was like
wasn't no big. It
it
was
was a
no
yeah.
big deal. Yeah.
They didn't have all of what we have now,
And you know
and
what?
that
That's
create
good.
and I guess the denomination at some point creates confusion too because it's just one body. It's supposed to be just one body.
And it's shared fellowship.
So that's why I'm saying that's why my part of me is answering it shouldn't be like it shouldn't be an unequally yoked. Although I although I know because we have all of these auxiliaries and things of that nature that it can present um, some uneasiness or
Conflict.
tension or
Mhm.
conflict within the marriage because you're at two different
Mhm.
churches.
Mhm. And I would encourage you, if you are experiencing this, to really be prayerful, you and your spouse. Now, the
Hmm.
beautiful thing is that you are equally yoked in believing that Jesus Christ is Lord, that the Bible is the authority of God, the Word of God. The Word of God. This is the Word. The Bible is the Word that He left us instructions to follow.
Hmm.
And yeah, so these are things that you agree on. You don't want to be unequally yoked pertaining to that. And so, with that being said, I would encourage you to be prayerful about seeking a place where you and your spouse can worship together. Like, it's nothing wrong with still going back to visit. Because sometimes, again, you can be pulled in two different directions, and it can pose potential conflict, and at all cost you want to do whatever you can to eliminate or minimize moments of conflict as much as possible.
Hmm.
You don't want your marriage or your home to be a breeding ground for continual conflict.
There are few marriages I know of that they make it work, or they're making it work. That's what it seems to me. Um, that they, I think the thing is that they attend. I forgot, but let me throw something out there now. I don't remember how they do it, but to go with what you were saying is that the first and third Sunday we'll go to your church.
Yeah.
Second and
Yeah.
fourth Sunday we'll go to my
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
On the fifth
Yeah.
Sunday we'll watch church from home. You know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but if you have people who are like, I just love my church. I really love like we do. I love the field, but my boom, and he's like, I love my church. Like, okay, but then I guess then you would have to come to a conclusion. You have to come up with something. Again, we're talking about going the extra mile. Have to come up with some compromise that say if this creates conflict in our marriage, then this is what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
and everybody sticks to it.
Yeah.
But I think what Shamika is saying, and I agree wholeheartedly, is to eliminate all of that. Really pray about it. And the other option may be, I'm not going to your home church. You're not going to my home church. We're gonna pray together, and we're gonna find another church to
That's it.
attend.
That's it. That's it. That.
And then on those fifth Sundays, this is me thinking something now.
Mm-hmm.
On those fifth Sundays, then we'll visit each other's home church. It's like 4 fifth Sundays a month. I mean a year, and then therefore we can still get to your place, you can get to my place, but to make sure that we eliminate as many issues as possible. Hey, babe, how about we find a church that neither one of us, and you go looking for an actual place, and you can still stay within the same denomination.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying?
That's so good. And then this is where now all of this that we are sharing, it is best that this is all ironed out beforehand, before marriage. But in some cases, it ends up coming up in marriage because guess what? Some things you just fall through the gap with all of everything going on. It just happens. But this will bring back up the issue, or not the issue, but it will bring back up the compromise. What are those non-negotiables that you will not take away when it comes to looking for a church? So
Meaning us together. We're
yes,
going. Okay,
when we go
gotcha.
looking for that same church.
Gotcha.
So you say, okay, Sally or Patrick, what do you like about your church? I love that we always do community events. I really like going out into the community, evangelizing, da 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 da. And then Patrick say, well, Shamika, what do you like? Well, I love the prayer services. I love hearing the mothers get up in the morning praying, and that is important to me. So then the two of us would do our best to find a church that has moments of community of evangelism and moments for prayer. And this is where we say this is the church. Like we can find fellowship with one another as well as with others, and it's like, yes, this is it. We're getting the word. We get to go out in the community. We get to pray, and yes, this is it.
So what about times when, or what would you say when they don't want to find it, like we don't feel like church hopping to look for another church. We have to make a decision on which one of our churches we're going to go to
Now listen, okay, well, we have to make a decision
between
on which
one of our
one of the
churches.
churches.
Right.
Now this is where the rubber meets the road, and I know that I'm about to say something that is gonna rock the boat. I am not a professing boat rocker, but I am known to rock boats. So let's say Patrick say, Shamika, we are. What did you say again?
So we're not going to, I don't feel like church hopping, looking for another church.
We're not going through that.
We're going to have to figure out which one of our churches to go to.
Out of these two.
Out of the two churches that we attend now, your home church and my home church, we need to figure out which one of these churches we're going to attend as a couple regularly.
Well, here you go. As his wife, guess what? I come under his leadership and I go. Even though I may want to continue again with my own church, if he is understanding to me, he's not taking me completely from my community. But the majority of my time, my husband is saying, I need you to come with me as my body, as my wife. I need you to come with me. Now, if he's understanding and caring and loving, guess what? He will say, well, baby, we'll go over to your church sometimes or this Sunday or whatever. He will be understanding. And again, this is the idea. I am assuming, I'm not gonna go there. But the truth of the matter is if the head of the household, who is the husband, I didn't make it up. Check the scripture. Remember, we're bringing you it from a biblical perspective. So the head instructs the body gives cues or whatever to the head. It's a divine communication that's taking place. Like my hand didn't know to move if my mind didn't tell it to. My point is that you figure it out and you do what needs to be done.
So I think a couple of things.
Hmm. Did I
So
say that well?
you did a good job.
Okay, great.
So two things. The scripture does say, wives, submit to your own husband. The verse before that, however, says, submit yourselves one to another. So in figuring this out, so yes, at the end of the day, I believe the wife should adhere to following the leadership of her husband.
And this is godly
However, at
leadership.
the
Yeah,
same
this is.
time, the husband is not taking that as an opportunity to lord over her and make her go where he wants just because I'm the head of the household. Remember, I think it's verse 19, it says,
Of what?
submit your, I think it's Ephesians, submit yourselves one to another. And that submission, that means we are having a conversation. So as the head of the house, and if my wife is saying, well, baby, at the end of the day, the final decision goes with you. The husband needs to know that if he's making the wrong decision and he's not dealing with his wife with understanding, God's not hearing his prayer. So, with that being said, whatever happens, God is going to hold the husband accountable. So, I think if the husband is a submissive husband unto Christ, he will have those submitting or compromising, those compromising, no, not compromising. Yeah. He will have those negotiating conversations with his wife so that at the end of the day, he can go into prayer and make the decision based on what he believes God is leading them. But even that, before the conversation starts, they start with prayer. Because God may say, what something.
Go
You feel what I'm
to
saying?
find another
Find a
church.
different church.
Uh huh.
Right. So we go into prayer or we go into conversation and we're saying what I like about this church. Well, baby, I like this about my church. Well, I don't like this about your church. Okay, boom, 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 boom. And you really go the extra mile. Again, we're still talking about going the extra mile. That's what you do in marriage. I mean, if God will tell you to do it, I think he was talking about in the Sermon on the Mount, when a Roman soldier tells you to carry his bag up 1 mile, you carry it 2 miles. So if you do it for an enemy, I'm pretty sure we should do it for our spouses. So I go the extra mile to figure out what's the best thing for our marriage. Remember now, we was telling you earlier, all marriages have something inside of it that's the same, but all marriages, like fingerprints and like snowflakes and like fingerprints, have their own imprint. They have their own design. And so as a husband and wife, you got to sit down and figure out what's best for your marriage and be willing to have a really tough conversation. Figure out what's going on. What is your wife like? What is your wife not like? Figure out what is your husband like? What is your husband not like? And then allow. So what is that? Submitting or humility? Humility is a strong word. I'm willing to submit myself under the trustworthy authority of another. And when I'm humble myself. So when the wife humbles herself to be willingly submit herself to the trustworthy authority of her husband, he has to be um, conscious. Conscious, not the word I'm looking for, But he has to be conscious enough to know that he is taking on a great responsibility with God's daughter and not to make the wrong decision concerning their marriage. And I think if both parties are going in that way, I think the wise decision will be made. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is good. You preach that. That was
Okay.
good. That was good. That was good because a lot of times, which is why I was kind of delicate, or I was kind of hesitant to say
Mm-hmm.
it because a lot of times I tell Patrick all the time, I assume that all husbands are like him, and that's not true. It's some men that are lording over their wives,
Mm.
and it's making it difficult for a wife to truly submit to a trustworthy leadership. She don't believe that her husband is really going before the Lord on her behalf, on their behalf, on his behalf, for that matter. And so, yeah, and so I like how you said that when you realize your role in the marriage as far as your responsibility of being the head of the
Mm-hmm.
household, you're responsible for, you're responsible. Oh,
It's
Patrick,
just me.
we adjusting. But you make the necessary. No, I mean, let me go back. You understand your role and the responsibility that come with that, and you respect the role.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so though Christ may not be visibly noticeable in our marriage, meaning like physically, you should be able to sense his presence in how Patrick and I interact with each other, and the same should be for your marriage too. So yeah, I like how you said that. Yeah, it helps. It helps to submit when the leadership is trustworthy leadership,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps. The I'm sure it helps to make decision because that's basically that's really what the head of the household is. It's like all the responsibility fall on you, buddy. That's basically what that means. And and so it helps your husband to make sound and wise choices when you're trusting his leadership.
Yeah.
And again, I can't trust if you hadn't been there, but if you
Right.
come through, it's like it's easy to trust you.
I just believe, and just one of my things is that I believe that it's easier for a wife to submit when her husband is loving her like Christ loved the church. I know in terms of the verse submit came first, but in terms of action, Christ loved us first.
Hmm.
And he showed his love for us by doing all that he needed to do, by laying his life down laying his life down for us, to give us that trustworthy, to let us know that his authority is trustworthy,
And that he's
and that
faithful.
and that we could come under him and allow him to take lead in our lives. You know what I'm
Amen.
saying?
Amen.
But it becomes hard. It becomes hard to, and I think this is off subject but on subject. It becomes hard for children, wives, uh, to have this willingness to submit to God when the person who is supposed to be the authoritative figure that they can see is not doing right. It's hard. It's hard for me to take God. I'm off subject. To take God as a father when my father was this low down crappy guy,
Or absent.
and you or absent. So you want me to say, wait a minute, this person I can't see, you want me to take him as a father, but the father I do see is treating me this way or not there to treat me at all. Or you want me to be, in this submissive role, so to speak, but the person that's over me or is leading me is leading me astray. And so it becomes difficult. Not saying it can't be done, but it becomes difficult for the spouse and for the children to have that type of humility when the person who is supposed to be leading is not humble enough themselves. You know what I'm saying? Humble enough to know that God is truly in control. Humble enough to know, okay, this is a situation where my wife needs to be leading. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we always talk about finances. I can't do the finance. I'm horrible at finances. So because I'm horrible at finances,
I
I'm gonna
delegate.
let I'm gonna hey baby, you know how I am. I can't do finances. So baby, you in charge of the finance. That means she's now has a leadership role in the house concerning finances. So you need to talk to her, like, no, baby, we can't do it today. Okay, cool. It doesn't mean you're less of a man. This means you're wise to know this person is better at this than I am. It's probably best that we submit ourselves one to another so that we can progress in our marriage. And if that's and if hold on, let me real quick. And if that even if that's the church part, if it's okay, baby, you have a greater discernment. If we're let's say if they decide like whatever, you have a conversation. You have a conversation. You have a conversation.
Yeah. You know, as you were talking, something came to my mind too. Remember that you vowed to your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You do not vow to a church.
That's good. That's good.
With that being said, you're not married to the church. I know that it is
That's not your bride.
I know that's
Mm-hmm.
Christ's bride. Don't try to make it be something that is not. You called to fellowship.
Not your. I said that's not your.
That's good. We're called to fellowship with one another. But notice he never said be covenanted to one another, be vowed to one another. Though we do have a sense of responsibility to one another. So I'm saying that to say that you're not married to your childhood church, neither one. And so with that being said, it may come a time where you have to let go, forsaking all others. This is the vow you made. And I would think that if you have to leave a father and a mother, I'm pretty
Everybody
sure.
else.
Come on, fall in line.
Yeah.
You can't get no more serious than that first relationship that you ever had
Yeah.
with a mother and a father. Especially, and again, it's in a healthy way, but whether it's healthy or unhealthy, guess what? Thank God for the gift of letting go and moving on and building and sustaining something brand new and beautiful in the sight of God. Again, this is holy. Holy is sacred. It's between the husband and wife and their God.
I think a lot of churches have made if you leave the church,
You leave God.
they
I'm sorry.
yeah. If you leave the church, they take it or pastors take it personal. You know what I'm saying? Take it personally that if you leave, his wife or her husband, Church of the Holiness within one Pentecostal, if you leave that particular church, then you're evil or you're mean or
You walking away from the faith,
yeah, like
or that you
you're
done left
going over
God.
like you're going over there. I think it creates such a almost like a it's a cult.
Cultish
It's a cultish
vibe.
process to membership. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I think that becomes one of the reasons why some people are at churches that they know they should leave, but they won't leave for fear of being ostracized or being talked about in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
And
In these church
I'm
groups.
glad you mentioned that, because again, I want to bring the point up again. Marriage or membership to a church is not marriage to a church. Don't get it twisted. No, that's not the same thing. And your spouse is not a member. Your spouse is who you have vowed to.
You
And
mean
so
the spouse is not a member?
like it's not a membership. Your
Okay.
marriage is not membership. It's
Okay.
not a
Okay. Yeah.
country club
I'm not in a
type.
membership with you.
Yeah, I'm not.
Gotcha.
You're not
Gotcha.
in a membership with me. You in a marriage with me.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
yeah. So members again, we may disagree on some things. We may be sever ties and agree to disagree or whatever the case may be. But I'm vowed to Patrick for life. Is what I vowed to. And I vowed this before God, to him, before others. There were witnesses that were there. Now, Patrick and I didn't have a large wedding, but there were witnesses that were there that can vouch, say, yep, they did get married. And they did say yes. I heard him say that he would, and she did too. And so they hold us accountable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to say something else too.
Okay.
So now, some of the benefits to attending the same church is
That's
that you
good.
are getting the same teaching, the
Yep.
same preaching, you're getting the same spiritual guidance and
Hmm.
influence. You get to share the same family and friends. Versus if you go to different churches, it's like, you know, Rebecca, and he say, and he trying to figure out who Rebecca,
Hmm.
and then he had to explain, yeah, Rebecca is my auntie, like she helped change me, and she like, I don't care about who, whatever the case may be. She may feel some kind of way, and the same way with Uncle Ruckus. I don't
Hmm.
know. That is so funny to me. I done made myself laugh. But my point is, you won't have to do so
I had a
much
couple of
explaining.
jokes. I had a couple of jokes in my mind that would
Yeah,
not go well.
yeah, don't you
A
dare.
couple of comments,
But yeah,
and then and
but
then and then also you get some of the. Yeah, I don't know if you said it.
mm-hmm,
You share some of the same events because you were talking about
mm-hmm,
certain one church is having this, another church is having
mm-hmm.
that, but we get to go as one
Yes,
to the church picnic,
yeah.
picnicking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know
and
what I'm
look,
saying?
yeah, and everyone you're building
Community.
friendships and community,
Yeah.
and you're fellowshipping one with another. Like you can. I'm telling you that is probably one of the best gifts in worshiping and fellowshipping together, to be able to pray together. I I mean, it's to witness growth together,
Mm-hmm.
to even go through those seasons of hardships together.
Mm-hmm.
It's something about how God has wired life where it brings us together, the good times and the not so good times.
Mm-hmm.
It causes us to, it deepens our love to one another. And yeah, we just more understanding, and you can see even the wrestle. Let's say sometimes we, you know, the word of God to go forth, and you know that it stepped on your spouse's toe. You can be more sensitive to them as they are going through wrestling with the truth, and bringing themselves under that divine counsel of God
Mm-hmm.
through the man or woman of God. It's something beautiful about it, versus, you know, a word that may be heard and you wasn't there to hear that the preacher stepped on his toe, but he come home and he's still wrestling with it, and you don't know what was said or what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Anyway,
Is it?
that's all I got.
All right.
Oh, and the
So,
children need, especially if you plan on, bringing forth
oh, that's
family and
good.
children.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Children don't. We want to again eliminate as much conflict in the children.
Having to choose
Choose
between
between
going back and forth
to
between mama
First or
church and
Second
daddy church,
Baptist.
mama church,
Uh
daddy
huh.
church. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in a sense, so here's the thing. There's nothing biblical about going to different churches. So I don't think it makes you unequally yoked. However, it does not create the best opportunity for you to grow together closer when you're at two different churches.
That's good. Wisdom,
You know what I'm saying?
wisdom.
Unequally, no. But it's a greater growth in marriage when you're under the same house. That's
Amen.
good. I just thought about something else. It's almost if you're co-parenting in two different houses.
See, and it's not to say that either parent is bad.
No. And
Mm-mm.
y'all still married. Y'all just live
Mhm.
in two different. Now how crazy does that sound?
Uh huh.
Like we married, but I live in Westwood and you live in Orange Mound.
Cause I love my house, and I bought my own house with my own money.
Right.
I
This is the
remember
house
when
I grew up.
this the house that.
I grew up in.
Come on.
Let's just keep it real. You stay in Indian Hill, and I stay near, the Southwest Twin movie theaters,
Mhm.
and that's the house you grew up in. And this the
Mhm.
house I grew up
I was
in.
born in this
Hey,
house.
we like it,
I
and now we
uh
got
huh.
the children
It's
walking.
paid for.
We got the children walking from house to house.
Come on.
Now we're still married, but it can create so many issues because we're not under the same roof. So, unequally, no. Presenting or can present the opportunity to make some frictions that
And
may cause
conflict.
y'all to split. I think yes. So, if you're looking for an answer, I would say find one one church home to be at. Can
Yeah.
it happen again? Because I'm like, can it happen? Yes, and I know I'm repeating myself. Yeah, it can, but we're trying to eliminate. We're trying to eliminate as much as my wife. I think my wife said as much friction as possible.
Yeah.
So
Cause conflict. Listen, we have an enemy that is opposed to the idea of the institution of marriage that
Hmm.
our God created.
Correct.
The Satan wants us to not have fellowship. He wants to sever relationships at all costs. He is looking for any moment where a smidget of conflict could come up, so that so he could divide and then conquer. So hey, find a church home.
Right.
Find your church. Get your, or what Pastor Salton used to say.
Find your church home.
Get closer to God. Find your church.
Get
Get
dope
dope out
your
your vein
vein and
and hope
hope in
in your
your
vein.
brain.
You'll
No, no.
never,
Dope out your vein and hope in your brain.
you'll never
Get nowhere.
smoke in the
Smoking
pipe.
pipe. Smoking the pipe.
Never.
You want to get your lesson and be smart and school? See?
Get rid of the drugs.
Get away from the in
Get
crowd.
away from the in crowd.
Get it close to God.
Get a close. Find you a
Find you a church
church
home.
home. And that's what the commercial cut off at. Come on, Memphis, Tennessee.
I remember
His
the first
message
time
is
I
still
saw that,
preaching.
and I first time I saw that, he was talking about get dope out your vein or whatever. I was high then.
Mercy, Patrick.
Like,
Mercy, Patrick.
it was so funny to me.
Mercy.
I don't know. That's what marijuana
Mercy.
do to you.
Mercy.
Thank God I don't smoke marijuana no more.
Thank God for deliverance.
Yeah.
The power of prayer.
Man, real talk.
Amen.
Real talk. Real talk.
Y'all be blessed, be encouraged. Don't be discouraged if this episode found you in a moment of conflict.
Yeah.
You can overcome. All right.
And
You
if it's that bad, seek counseling.
yeah,
Like get some real good counseling. Some real
Yeah.
good counseling.
yeah, yep. All right,
All
that's our little two ones and twos.
All right. We thank y'all. We love y'all. Oh, yeah, that's it. We love y'all. Take care.
God bless.
Bye-bye.